Namaskar. Welcome to another episode of Editorial. Today the government took a lot of steps regarding Manipur. Number one is that the case where the women were paraded naked in Manipur, that case has been transferred to the Central Bureau of Investigation. The 4th of May case in Tobal district has been transferred to the Central Bureau of Investigation. To the central government, that is the Ministry of Home Affairs, has moved Supreme Court requesting the court to move the case away from Manipur High Court to another state, possibly Assam High Court. That's point number 2. Point number 3, it has given us a few details which I will get to. My question is, are we solving the problem or are we resolving the symptoms? Are we really looking at the core problem and trying to solve it? Or are we purely looking at symptoms which have been picked up by media, which became viral, and therefore just sorting it out and brushing things under the carpet? What are we trying to do? Let's discuss this. Let's get right into the show. Now, the central government has taken a few decisions regarding Manipur, and I'm going to read out those decisions to you. First and foremost is, like I said, the Home Ministry has moved the Supreme Court to pray to the Supreme Court that the Tobal case, the May 4th case, removed from Manipur and given to some other state. So that's the first thing they have requested. Ideally, I think it will go to Assam. That is what they say. That's the first thing they have requested. The second thing that they've done is they have taken away 6 cases from the police, in fact 7 cases from the police, and given to the CBI. 3 cases have been handed over to NIA. Around 6,065 FIRs have been filed by the state police. According to the government sources, 72% of government employees return to work, 82% of children are back to school. The center will move to Supreme Court for scheduled caste status for Meitei. And according to the center, neither the army nor the police were present during the May 4th case in Tobal district. This is what we understand from the central government said yesterday. In fact, there are psychologists, special investigation officers appointed for central to help people who faced mental trauma. So there are psychologists also that they have appointed. Now, all this looks good. Let us understand this threadbare. All these steps happened because of a viral video that the entire country, that saw outrage in this entire country from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Because of one viral video. The question I ask tonight is, if that viral video wouldn't have happened, would all these steps be taken? Or would we just let it simmer? That's the question number 1 I ask. And I ask you this question for 2 reasons. A is, what I see here is a lot of action taken on symptoms. I don't think there is any major action taken on the core issue. The core issue of what happens to the CM. Why was the CM not inactive? That is the core issue. We need to investigate that. Which body is investigating that? Why did the police not act? Why was there inaction from the police? According to a police officer I spoke, in 3 days, they could have sorted out this matter. Why was this matter not sorted out in 3 days? I don't see any investigation on that issue. I don't see any investigation on that issue. What stopped the administration from acting? That is one of the most important investigations that we should be doing. I don't see that investigation happening. What happens to the war on drugs? What happens to the war on drugs? How are we going to continue the war on drugs? Continue that path, ensuring that it's not the cookies that you blame. There are dealers, there are distributors, there are salespeople, there are politicians, the whole cartel involved in the drugs. How are you going to ensure that the war and drug continue and war and drug continue fairly without purely blaming the cookies for it? How is that going to happen? What is the roadmap for that? That's a question I want to ask. What happens to forest reserves? How are you going to ensure that you reserve your forest the way you want it? Environment is important. But other than harming just one community, having rehabilitation plan for that community when you're throwing that community out of the forest, how are you going to do that? Is there a roadmap for that? Is there a plan for that? I want to know. How are we going to ensure that the mountain, the hill range of Manipur, there are infrastructures, there are basic infrastructures, hospitals, schools, water, basic infrastructure, other than ensuring all infrastructures are in Impal? How do we ensure that we extend the infrastructure to the rest of Manipur so that the Kuki feels that they too are taken care of, or Nagas too feels that they are taken care of? Anyone, why Nagas and Kukis, people who are staying in the hills are seen that they are taken care of, feels that they are taken care of, other than having all the infrastructure concentrated on the plateau, that is Imphal. So when are we going to do that? What's our roadmap for that? What's our roadmap to bridge the economic wedge that is there between the hill tribe and the people staying in the plain? How are we going to wedge that economic gap? So that there is the core of any problem, not only in Manipur, not only in India, across the globe, every place, every nook and corner in the world, the core of any problem is economic wedge. How are we going to ensure that that economic wedge is taken care of between the people staying in the hills and people staying in the plain? People staying in the plain are economically much better, well-to-do than people staying in the hills. How are we going to take care of that? There should be a panel sitting to discuss that. Where is that panel? I don't see that. The government is proposing to hold talks with both the communities to bridge the mutual distrust. Fantastic. That's what the center says. Fantastic. But I think, and this I tell my fellow Indians, the Kukis and the Meiteis in Manipur, don't wait for the government to build that bridge. You guys can build that bridge far more easier than the government intervening and making and bridging those bridges. I spoke to Meiteis, I spoke to Kukis, I spoke to some administrative officers, I spoke to a lot of people in Manipur, and the fact is this issue can be easily resolved if there is people-to-people interaction. There is no that much of hatred actually. Common people, there is no that much of hatred. Few pockets, few fringe elements, maybe, but common people, there is no that much of hatred for each other. Like I was told, they are married to each other. They have got relatives in Kukis have got married to Meiteis. Meiteis have got married to Kukis. There is a bond. There is no much wedge. It's a matter of a people-to-people meeting, other than involving politicians, other than involving community leaders. If people-to-people meet, the bridge can be built between both these communities. That is a fact. But the point remains that most of the steps that I saw here are steps that are taken purely as a knee-jerk reaction. Most of them are knee-jerk reaction for that video. Because that video came out and this outrage happened and entire India is talking about it, and most of these decisions are based on that. Law and order decisions, of course, they woke up now and now they're trying to get everything into place. All that is fine. But the fact is, Manipur needs permanent decisions. Manipur needs permanent solutions. And more than the government, I think permanent solutions can come if both the communities, on their own, people to people, come sit together and sort it out. Mind you, the most permanent decisions that have ever been taken are taken by people and not by governments. When people take decisions, when people sit with each other, when people communicate with each other, the decisions that comes through are 100% permanent. That's what I would request people from Manipur to do. This is a problem that you can resolve. That said, most of the solutions that has been suggested, I think, are good, but addressing the symptoms and not the core problems. Till I see you next time. Namaskar. you.